Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Nunes. I'm a senior organization leadership major. Today, I'm not going to be talking about a specific research paper, though it's more so a literature review on the benefits of being uncomfortable, both from a business and an individual perspective. I've done many hours of research into this. I've written books. I've gone to several conferences talking about related topics, and I've written several literature reviews for many different classes on this topic. So I'd first like to start off with the business side with Carlota Perez. She is a Venezuelan-British scholar who specializes in technology and economic development and how paradigm shifts happen in the past few centuries. And so she posits that essentially takes around 60 years, where the first 20 to 30 years is kind of the introducing of these new paradigm shifts, and then there's a change and then a settling. And so you can see this in many different revolutions, such as the Industrial Revolution, steel, electricity, or the transfer of information and communication. However, we also see that in the past century or a few decades alone, this time period has become a lot shorter, and large innovations affecting our entire culture and society are happening at much quicker rates and much faster rates. So then she went on to show how innovation is happening much more quickly. So now you may be thinking, okay, what does this have to do with discomfort? Well, let's look at the definition of innovation. Innovation is a process leading to a significant positive change. Some people believe it is the outcome, but more recently, people believe it is a process. And so the word change is interesting here. So let's focus on this. What is change? Right? By nature, inherently, change is uncomfortable. Right? It asks us to step out of the autopilot, out of the everyday normal that we live through, and forces us to use our brains and to think. But staying where you are currently is also just as uncomfortable, right? Facing the same struggles that you're facing and all of those issues that keep building and building. So to build companies that are viable for the future and to navigate these changes, they have to be comfortable and be uncomfortable. So let's look at a few companies. So notice that all these companies were once powerhouses in their industry, but have either gone under completely or have failed to innovate. Whether it be Blockbuster, who was too scared to, or too stubborn to innovate, or for example, Toys R Us, who was too reliant on Amazon and too slow to move into e-commerce afterwards, or Nokia and BlackBerry, who were too scared because, for example, they had actually invented the touchscreen phone back in 2002, but didn't release it because they feared that the price was too high and there wasn't enough demand. So, on the other hand, we have many other companies, right, that have been around for a while. Epic Games and ByteDance being the more recent ones, that have lived through many different technological revolutions and have navigated it successfully. So they realized that what got them to where they are today is not where is going to get them tomorrow. Sorry, the clicker is not working. There we are. They have been able to sit in that uncomfortableness of predicting what's coming next and to innovate with the change rather than reacting to it. So what does the research say about building companies that are innovative and that can navigate change? So based off of what the literature says, here are some of the most prominent examples. Again, if the clicker will work with me. So first off is less organizational complexity. People should be able to communicate across departments and collaborate without having to go up managers and back down the manager, the chain. All right, next up, we also have experimenting often. Right, so rather than one big experiment to see if it works and find out if it truly is safe to go into, testing out many times over and over again, different products on more micro scales. And so I'm not saying to disregard those larger experiments, but more emphasis and speed on the small ones. Next up, we also have reward actions and ideas. So we shouldn't be creating roadblocks or barriers for people to be innovative and to share ideas, right? So maybe you allow people a few hours a week to collaborate with people across departments just to talk or to try to solve a problem. And lastly, we have find problems to solve. So don't just innovate to innovate, but to find what is happening and find a pinpoint. That is all business is that we have learned about in all of our classes, right? Finding a problem to solve and think about it. Think about solving it in different ways, creative ways. So again, these are just a few different examples. And the research also says that none of this is easy, because if it was easy, everyone would do it. So, assuming that you have these organizational structures in place and that you are working with a fine-tuned company, now you're growing your business and you're working with the change, making profits, but you will need the people to navigate those changes and to support these systems. So, how does Discomfort help facilitate people and grow people? So first we have capacity, and then we also have identity and perspective. So Discomfort enriches us in what we can do, who we are, and how we view the world. A little acronym to help you that I made for this is SIP. So again, this is from many research across several decades that I just kind of encapsulated into this acronym for your needs. All right, starting off with capacity. Capacity, like I said, is about what we can do. It's about pushing through the challenges that we're able to do so that we can do harder things. Easiest way to think about it is working out, right? We go to the gym, we lift weights so that we can do more repetitions or lift heavier weights. Similarly with running, we run longer distances or try to get faster times by continuously doing it. So when we engage in those difficulties and those discomforts, we're able to navigate them better. And this applies to pretty much every aspect: psychological, emotional, biological. Though one thing that may not be good in this instance is engineering a bridge, right? More weight does not necessarily mean it's better. But regardless, educational psychology calls these desirable difficulties, where when we engage in something that requires a moderate amount of difficulty, but that is desirable, we stifle our progress in the short term, but really increase it in the long term and increase our performance to tackle many different things. And if you think about it, our entire education is built around this idea, right? You start off with addition, and then you add multiplication, and then exponents, and you're constantly pushing or writing more and learning more. So yeah, that is how Discomfort can grow our capacity. Next up, we have our identity. So we have parts about ourselves that we're learning about, right? And so when we go into different experiences, whether that's going into a hike or somewhere where you're by yourself to see who you are without other people, or you're juggling multiple different responsibilities at the same time, or having to engage in a difficult conversation with someone, or even the boredom of trying to sit by yourself and sit with your own thoughts and see who you are in that. Which I'm sure all of us can relate to this last one of not wanting to be bored, because otherwise we'll go on to doom scroll. Again, if this thing will work, there we go, doom scroll. But regardless, Discomfort also emphasizes who we are in different contexts, learning about ourselves so that we're better able to emphasize and relate to other people. And so navigating these allows us to handle situations with more ease, confidence, and clarity, connecting with people and making healthier decisions for ourselves and for others. Last up, we have perspective. So Discomfort can also change how we see the world. For example, placing yourself in different situations, seeing how people engage with the world, how they think, how they communicate, what their values are, all of that plays a role. And it's uncomfortable placing somewhere where you can't go on autopilot, like I said before, and rely on the assumptions and values of your home cultures. Though The trade-off to that uncomfortability is very profound because you get to learn, you get to learn many different cultures and ways of living. Engaging with more diverse perspectives increases creativity, research has shown that, and it allows us to find new ways to tackle the same problems and view from different perspectives how we're able to go about a situation. So, two of the key benefits for engaging in discomfort that the research has shown time and time again to help us engage in discomfort are our mindsets and our social supports. So how we interpret a situation and who we have with us. First off, our mindsets. Do we perceive the stress as something that's dangerous? What is happening, right? What is the meaning that we make of it? And secondly, do we believe we have the resources to cope with the stress? Those two aspects of our mindset are increasingly important, not increasingly, they are important for how we handle stress. Next, we have our social supports. So do we have people that we can lean on? Have we invested in those social supports? Who do we call during the good times? Who do we call during the bad times? Like I said, there is a host of scaring research that these two factors alone influence us psychologically, emotionally, with our work, productivity, so on and so forth. I could literally talk about this for hours, how multifaceted just our mindset and our social supports are in our lives. But I also want to mention, tying back with business and personal, not all discomfort is good, okay? So there are limits. As much as I've been talking about how great it is, it's not all amazing. So overworking yourself to exhaustion isn't resilience. Similarly, running from a bear is not a growth opportunity. That's called survival. And next, stress plus rest equals growth. So remember to push, but also allow yourself time to rest. So too little stress and we stagnate and we are not growing, but too much and we end up going and hurting. So lastly, what I have here for you, just some key takeaways and some things before you go engage in discomfort, both in your businesses and your personal life. This is not an exhaustive list, but just a few things to remember. So check the context. Is the discomfort you're engaging in meaningful, or are you running from a bear? Next, reframe your mindsets. Instead of thinking that this is just pain and something that's happening to you, how can you grow from it? How can you learn from it? Lastly, ensure the dose and rest are right. So remember to push, but also allow yourself to recover. And that constantly going is not sustainable. And to summarize this whole presentation about how discomfort benefits both businesses and individuals, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Maya Angelou. If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. Thank you. Questions? If anyone wants to talk about any of my research more in depth later, I'd be happy to discuss.
Any questions? You comfortable with that?
Thank you.